When there's something strange in your neighborhood, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I am on the street and I am walking. So part of my health journey that I am continuing to move on to do. So today I couldn't think of a more beautiful day to be out and about. So thanks for stopping by and tuning in. And so today I'm going to go ahead and just update on how everything has been going with this health journey. So far, so good. I did do a weigh-in, but I did a weigh-in, I believe it was on Sunday. Yes, Sunday. And the weight was 245. So I post this in the corner over here. And so I decided that I'm not going to be weighing in like every day because that's it's not good. It's not good for the mind, right? It's not a bad thing because we know that's how weight loss goes, right? If you're going to dig in and actually do it right. So before you see the any results of anything, you're just gonna have to go ahead and just work through. You know, everything is working good on the inside. It's about working on the inside, and then, you know, then we'll see the progress on the outside, okay? But I'm real positive about it. Okay, so yeah, Monday, as part of my workout, I put my results down for my elliptical. So I did the elliptical. I did it for 45 minutes, and I also did on Tuesday I did strength training. So what I did was I got on Chat GPT. And so I know people are like AI, people use AI for everything. And so for me, I'm partial with it. The sun is this way, I'm walking backwards. And so and I find it interesting and fun to play with. I don't believe, you know, that it has all the answers. If anything, I'm a person who, when it comes to problems and world problems and things like that, just a car. So my mind just, you know, comes up with these ideas. And like I said, I make these analogies so that when I speak out about it, I'll have an image or some kind of example to pair with it. And so if anything, is AI feeding me? Hell no. I'm actually feeding AI. It's getting, you know, stuff from, it's learning from me. It's learning from you. And it brings me back, here we go, because it just came up, another analogy that I was getting. The Matrix. If any of you have seen The Matrix Resurrection 4. Okay, a lot of people thought that, you know, they couldn't understand it. I'm going to tell you this. It definitely was a movie that went over a lot of heads. But I thought that it was perfect. I thought the movie, it corresponded a lot with what's going on in the natural and the spiritual. If you're not really spiritually minded, you're not going to catch the spirituality that's embedded within the movie and what it was talking about. But one thing that I wanted to talk about as far as the AI, you have the devil in the movie. You know, you want to classify this guy as the devil. Did you know this devil They made him a psychologist. Very interesting take on what, you know, as an enemy, right? So what we need to understand and what's going on, the same as happening in the world. You got the CIA, you got all this secret intelligence and all these things. They're studying us. And they're studying us so that they would know how they need to react and how they need to treat us and what they need to do when certain things go certain different ways. Okay? And I told you that everything is about energy, frequency, and vibration. That quote that I keep talking about from Tesla. So, when you talk about mind, when you talk about thoughts, all those things are energy and vibration, right? And they understand that. So you have, thoughts and minds and emotions. Emotions also are frequency and vibration. And when you see the things that are happening on the news, when you see the things that they keep perpetuating on the in the media, they're trying to control your energy by controlling your thoughts and your emotions. And so the devil in the movie is a psychologist, and there is a quote from the Kabbalion, and it says the all is mind and the universe is mental. Okay, we're at a level on a frequency of matter. And so in science, it when it comes to liquid, solid, gas, it's the state in which, the frequency of the, the item or the thing or whatever it's at. So I was talking about the rate and speed in which things are, which is the vibration and in what state something is in. And the state in which the waves are moving faster, then it can move something into like a gas-like state. And as the waves slow down, then things go into like a liquid state, and then it comes into its solid form. But just like water, all the states are still water. Okay? So that's the same thing with consciousness in the mind. Even though we are still mind, all is mind, but we're at the point of the mind, the area of the mind where everything is slowed down into a solid state. And when it comes to consciousness, it's like, well, life, what are we doing here? What's happening? Why are we experiencing this? Because individually we are consciousness. We have our own journey, but at the same time we experience things collectively together. And the reason why we're at this slowed down state is so that we are able to observe our thoughts. We're able to feel our emotions. We're able to actually examine what's going on within. When you're at higher states, when we're at higher states, if we haven't learned to control, I'm not going to say control, I'm going to say understand. Because you could think a thing, but even with you thinking something, it doesn't mean that that it could take over you or take hold of you or something like that. It just means you know how you're going to interact with that thought. Let me see. Hold on. Even coming around here, as far as how we interact with that thought, right? And so, in the higher states, you manifest faster. you know, in the state, in the area where angels and where God is, you manifest faster. The thoughts come through, and whatever they are, and you know, you state there will be, bam, it will be. So people are thinking like, why can't, like, we go through this life, they think we go through one life. You don't go through one lifetime, because to actually form a stable, balanced type of consciousness, you have to gain understanding about how about good and evil. I'll say that. I'll say all like polarities. So you go through life in different lifetimes, experiencing different polarities. You know, in some lifetimes you may have poverty. In some lifetimes you can experience poverty, and going from poverty to being rich. You can experience that all in one lifetime. Or if you have if you go through poverty and you experience it through one lifetime, you can have a lifetime where you experience wealth, because you have to experience all these things and how your mind and your consciousness reacts to all these states that you're in. And while you're going through all these different states, it's just like I said about diamonds in the ground. And in order to get it to a point of this clarity and this hardness, because diamonds, it is said on the thing that diamonds are the hardest element on the earth. Like a diamond could be like the hardest, and then people can say, oh, it probably is not. But hey, you know, the fact that it is that hard to have been noticed to be something like that, then it still says something. Okay, so the diamonds go through millions of years of a heating and cooling process, and it's that the whole thing of heating to change the structure of the carbon into something of a more crystal state. And I think I talked about that. When I spoke about when you take the starch with starch products or food like bread, rice, what else? Starch stuff, right? And you put it in the freezer, and it changes the molecular structure. There you go. I'm country. Forgive me. To a crystalline state. It was one state, but when you freeze it, it becomes another state. And this is the same as we are trying to achieve with the crystalline body. So the point of this life is for us to come down here. Everything is put in slow motion, that so that you can be observant and learn. Now, I didn't forget. It's like you start talking about the matrix, you start talking about this, because all of this rolls into that. Okay? So the devil, guy, with the blue glasses, the psychologist, he is the observer of our consciousness. And what he does is put all these blocks and things or conditions or challenges in the way, and we are supposed to become aware enough so that we can navigate these challenges and navigate the things that happen in our lives. But if you don't wake up then you never wake up to understanding or knowing anything. You would just begin to think that you just are. Things are happening to me and not for me. Now, I've said this plenty of times. I said this before the internet took hold of it. It says, because God gave this to me long time ago, where life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And so, and I know that you're like, it is happening to me. Yes, I do understand. Yes, believe me, I feel you. I feel you, okay? But remember that everything to those who love God is working out for your good. We see all the evil and stuff that's going on in the world right now. Believe me, it's working out for our good. Even though we see the killing, we see the people being in prison. You're seeing people being detained in these little centers and stuff all around America. We're seeing all of these things, but it's like, are we going to sit helpless and be like, well, we can't do anything about it? And that's the first part of what happens in awakening. You see all these things that happen in the world and you become aware all of a sudden. But sometimes when people awaken, because I have done it too, like in my first awakening, I started to become hyper aware about the things that's happening in the world. And then I was just like, well, I'm just me. What can I do about any of these things? So it kind of felt as a comfort to like just fall back asleep. And so, I went back to sleep for a while. But once you already gone through that first awakening, it's going to come back again, right? So when you're more prepared to take it on and handle it. So, because it's the matrix, the cycle, because the whole point of it is to get you to, awaken, and it will introduce itself many times, just like Neo, in the Matrix, when they've been trying to contact him until he finally was open to accept. And so the whole thing about what we are trying to do is, once you come awake, don't be afraid that it's like it's nothing you can do about it, because that's the worst thing to think, because all of us have been built to do something in this world. Now, what you're built to do, you may not think is all that grand. You know what I'm saying? It's not about what you were made to do being all that grand. You know what I'm saying? It's about you being aware and able to do your part, right? So there was a guy in Texas. His name was Moses something. I can't remember his last. Jones, I want to say. He built a system where we can pull water from the air. That was a solution. That was his part. To be honest, I haven't seen anything about him lately after he came out with that. So God, I hope he's okay. That was his solution that he brought to the forefront. There's another guy, an African guy, that he made gas out of plastic. And so he was able to make use a source that we use a lot, is plastic, and make it reusable as fuel. You see that? That's his contribution. And somebody could be small as a company. A guy, he was making women's sanitary napkins, pads, making them all cotton, making them safe for women to wear. Now you was like, there's already pads and tampons out there on the a lot of those things have toxins and chemicals that are not really helpful to the body of a woman. But they know what they make in this world. But if we are going to bring this earth into a higher vibration, we have to stop dependent on toxic people to solve our problems. Okay? They already had it in their hearts to make toxic sanitary napkins and things like that. Was on their heart to do. We also have toxic fabrics that we wear, you know, polyester and things like that, that secret microplastics, you know, into our systems, into our bodies, right? Ooh, I'm pumping a hill, baby. Okay, what time is it? Oh, I'm talking too long. Okay, well, let me go ahead, since I started the whole thing about the Matrix, and the point of him being a psychologist is because they're studying our minds. And he said, remember I said everything is slowed down in the Matrix? He said he learned about bullet time from him. You know, the part bullet time when he was dodging all them bullets. And so they observed him. He said, oh, because you created bullet time, I created this. And it's where he slowed bullet time down, where he slowed everything down to the point where he shot the bullet. And you can see it. Like, that's how slow things were happening, that you can observe the bullet. And so every move that we make in this world that's towards progress, you know, they are going to study it down to a science and turn it against us as a weapon. Whew. That's why it's important that that we are, instead of us saying there's nothing that we can do in the world, that's why it's important for everybody to tap in right now to know that thyself. That's a Egyptian proverb, to know thyself. When you know thyself and what God has put you here on earth to do, you can do that one thing. You don't have to do a billion things to help out the earth. You find out your one. There are some people that are just like, I want to save the whales. Don't you not think that that person in their heart that wants to dedicate their full heart and soul into saving the earth is not important, into saving the whales is not important? That person is indeed important. God put that on that person's spirit to want to save the whales. Okay? And that's what their part in changing the world. Right, walking across the street. That's where their part in changing the world is. If you do music and you make music and you're able to create frequencies that heal people's hearts and help them to understand and go through difficult situations and things like that, you know, you creating that thing by knowing thyself. That's what you're created to do. That's what that's your contribution. Okay? So there's a lot of things that I can think of small. There are people who handles animals at shelters and things like that. If that's what they want to do, is save animals, you know, for their life, you know, that you cannot say that that's not, you know, that's not a good purpose, or you should be this. I understand a lot of people want to go into a lot of, you know, talk about what is God and what is not God. Anything that is moving towards the progression of life is God, okay? and not moving everything towards death. Now, even though death is not excluded from life, because they are one in the same, because when death of things happen, then here comes new things, right? Because sometimes dead things have to be cleared. The reason why we are going through the situation in the world now, while it's being brought up, is being brought to the surface. It's going to die. But all of us, the collective, have to agree that this is something that needs to go. Just like the UN was talking about the transatlantic slavery, and how they made a vote about that it's like the worst crime against humanity. Slavery in any form is the worst crime against humanity. And for people to vote and to have a chance to let people know where they stand on an issue like that, for some people to not want to state a yes or no. And so a lot of people chose to not say anything about it. So that means they're pretty much for it, because all of us need to stand up against it. But at least we know where other people, other countries, and other places stand in what they want for the world. That's why it's important for us, the spiritual beings here, to have a vision. Martin Luther King came with a vision, and even though he died trying to push his vision forth, everybody else picked up the ball, kept pushing forward, and brought us to this point where in America, where we are in that vision. Now we are fighting to keep that vision alive. And so give me a second. I'm pumping up. I'm pumping up 2 hills. I just did one, and then I'm about to get to the top of. Look at this beautiful one. Oh my God, this is gorgeous. I wish I had something like this in my yard. Very beautiful. Anywho, so yeah. So I'm out of breath. So if what I said didn't make sense, then come back. I'll give you some. Most of it don't make sense next time. That, like I said, all this is about energy. All this is about frequency and vibration. And when we understand these things, you'll begin to understand the mysteries of the universe and why we're here. So, all right, y'all, I'm done. Okay, see you again. Bye.